Alright, hey there YouTube, how we doing today? We're gonna try to do this image. I've done this video a couple times now. I just don't like the way I do it, so let's see if I can do it right finally. Alright, let's go today on Mildly Menacing Tutorial. Alright, so today we'll start off by, I'll show you a couple things on how to mess with this, but I just want to give you guys an overview on everything. If you go up here, you have, your file, just your general overview on Gimp. Okay, I want to give you everything. I guess I'll just make it fast. Okay, so we have our bar up here, your main window bar, your settings. You have all of it up here, whether you want help, all of your windows, which are basically everything you see, all your settings and stuff. That is where you will find these. Recently closed ones, if you close any of them out, your dockable ones, so you could pick more after you get to know all of these and figure out which ones you want. Your filters, those will just edit your whole image. Your tools, everything that is right here should be right here as well. We'll go over those in a second though. Your colors, you could just mess with the color of the image. Your layer, if you're not familiar with how image editing works, you do it in layers, so that way you can edit one image without it messing up the other or putting something on the other one. You can leave it as it is and you can alter it and edit it that way. So that's what layers are for. You can do all sorts of stuff with it. You can have transparency. This one does have transparency. You can see I can't add an alpha channel because it already has one, so I can remove the alpha channel, and what that would do is make all these little these little gray squares white. It would just give it a background. It wouldn't be transparent anymore, and I don't want that, so we're going to leave that alone. You can flip it, you could do whatever. Image just messes with the whole image, not just the layers. The view, you can change how you're viewing it. You could do your select tool. If I were to select all, it would just select the whole frame. If I were to select none, it would take that away. And that's a good thing to do frequently, is go to select none, just so that way you're not locking yourself out of certain parts of the image, because sometimes you may do work that you're not seeing, and it's probably because it's in a non-selected area, and that is just a pain in the butt. It gets annoying very fast, and it's just a good habit to come up here and select none every once in a while, or quite frequently rather, just to make sure you're doing what you want to do and you're not blocking yourself. Alright, so then we have edit. That is just your history and all sorts of stuff. You can paste in place, paste whatever you want on your clipboard. You can paste as a layer, new layer in place, new image, new brush, new pattern, which is kind of unique. You can mess with this and make some fun stuff with that. That'd be good for artists and people looking to create things rather than just alter an image, which is what I mostly do. And then you go to file. That one's kind of normal, just open, save, all that stuff. If you want to save it as a project, you just go to save, which would save it with all your layers and all your stuff being done. If you wanted to export it as an image, you would have to come down here and to export as, click on it, and then you could really just export it as whatever you wanted, whether it's PNG or JPEG. I do PNG because PNGs carry over the transparency. Those artists probably looking to save it in vector graphic files, scalable vector graphic files. There is ways to convert PNGs, not with Gimp, but with another program. I might do a video on that later, just because I do find that rather handy. But that's enough about that. So let's get back onto the tools. So here we have the move tool, and you can see this move tool, as well as a lot of other tools, have a little arrow in the bottom right hand corner. And what that means is if I were to right click it, it will give me more options related to move. So I could just click align or move, or this one is the rectangle select. I could right click that and I'd have rectangle or ellipse. Scissors tool, free select, or a couple other options. This one is fuzzy select tool. You'll see what that does later. Then you have crop, which is just crop that has no arrow. Scale tool, you kind of know what that does. Rotate, flip, all sorts of stuff on that one. Then you have your warp or transform, your bucket fill. You could do bucket or gradient, or your brush tools, You have paintbrush, pencil, airbrush, ink, my paintbrush, and there are downloadable ones you can get online. I'm sure. I've looked into the brushes a little bit, but not too much because that's not my style. But I will try to go through everything for you guys. Then we have a clone tool, which is pretty unique. I may do a video on that later just because it helps when you're trying to fix a background or something like that, an altered image or a photoshopped image. You're trying to get something out, an imperfection or what have you, on the skin or on a background. Say there's a sign in front of a house you don't want, there's ways to get rid of that. And then there's, all sorts of stuff. There's heal, which would be more imperfections on skin, but there's other things that can do as well. And then smudge tool, which is just smudges it. You can right click that and do blur, sharpen, or dodge and burn. Which just, go ahead and play with these and see what they do. Feel free to screw around with it. There's no problem with that. I mean, it's art. I mean, the worst you're going to do is learn what it doesn't do, at the very least, And, you slowly piece it together. And then you come down here, and I guess I didn't go through all these, so no, we'll keep going. This one, the pass tool. I might do a video on that one later. I'd have to study that more, as this isn't what I do all the time. This is just something I have a pretty deep hobby into. So I don't know everything, but I will try. Like I said, text tool just adds text. Color picker, or measure. I like measure sometimes as well. And then just zoom. Zoom is obvious. And then you might have noticed these little squares down here. So you can, those are your selected colors. So I would have, because I'm not painting, but I would have pink right now. And then if I were to hit that little arrow switch, it would go back to white, and I could do that. You can see it's weird like that because that is the brush I chose. If I were to go back to a normal brush, then it would look normal. But you can really do whatever you want. It's kind of neat. That's what I meant by the brushes. Go through those. And another thing with the brushes is if you can change the aspect ratio, it will be flat, or, well, depending on what it is, depending on how much you change it. And then the angle it's at as well. You can change that and make some interesting angles with it. Spacing would basically dictate how often it hits the paper or the canvas. And then force is obviously how hard you're pressing, how heavy that dot is going to be, or that line is going to be. Alright, so now that I kind of give you a run through of those, these ones you could just mess with the fade length. Some of those, just go ahead and play with them and see what they do. See if they affect you at all, or see if they kind of do what you're looking to do. You can do gradients. It's kind of neat, the stuff you can do. But just go ahead and play with it, and don't be afraid. Just kind of mess with it, because I don't know what artists use. They want different brushes, different stuffs like that. So you want to just play around with it and see what you find that works for you. So right now I'm just hitting Control Z, which is undo, and I'm just getting rid of all that. I see that I think I might have accidentally, with the eraser tool, got his ear, so I will undo a couple more times. I'll undo that till, there we go, yeah, till the eraser part's gone, so that way it's still fresh. Alright, so now I gave you a little run through of the brushes. I think I did a good job on that. Hopefully that was good enough for you. If you have any questions, feel free to comment. Let me know. I'll be happy to answer them if I can. If I can't, I will try to point you in the right direction. Alright, so you may have seen I've selected the fuzzy select tool right there, and that has a threshold, and right now it's at 116. If I were to take it down to about 36, and I click his hair, or the inside of his hair, it only selected the top light yellow section, not this darker border or shadow, rather. So if I were to move that up to about 76, I think it selects that, but it's still a little, it would leave a little too much yellow on the edge. It wouldn't be quite clean. If I were to take that up to about 1 116. And we'll do 115.9, that's close enough. But you'll see, you zoom in, and this is still not quite perfect, but it's good enough for what I'm trying to do with it. And then you can do that, and then now you have all of his hair selected, or at least that main section there. You can go ahead and hit delete, and then it'll just take that away, and you'll have just the outline of his hair. You can go ahead and select all the areas by all the areas you're looking to at once by pressing one and then just holding shift and pressing the rest. So I could select all of them at once and just hit delete if I wanted to, and that would definitely help. Or like I was talking earlier, we could go up to this fuzzy select tool, right click on it and hit select by color, go to his hair or just any really black spot on here, and then you would just click it and it would select all of the black in the image. And thankfully that tattoos don't count, so they're not black enough or they're not dark enough, so those don't count, so it doesn't select those, and we could just go ahead and hit delete. Oops. Alright, so it deleted all of that black. That's the opposite of what I was trying to do. It deleted, it just left the color, which looks kind of interesting. It looked better if I'd left his hair, but it looks kind of neat. But that's not what we're trying to do here, so I'm going to hit Control Z and undo that, and then so I have what I want selected, right? I don't want to delete that though. I want to delete everything else. So I'm going to hit Control I on the keyboard, and that will invert the selection. So now I have everything but the black selected. Same lines are in the same spot, it just went the opposite way with selected. And now if I were to hit delete on that, it would take away that and just leave the border. And then it will come up here and hit select none, and that allows me to edit what I have here now. So you'll see it just took away all that, and there's really, there's no color left. If you do it that way. The way I did it, it left a little bit of color earlier when I did his hair, but since I selected all black, it took that color away. So now I just have that, and it looks pretty nice. But you see there's a couple air holes, we'll call them. I'll just go over to my brush tool here. I'm on, oops. I was on white there, we want black. So you can just, I'll close this out and I'll show you guys these little colors, squares over here. The foreground color and the background color, you can change those like I showed you, but you can also click on it and it will give you the option to change your color. I'm going to go to black and just, oops, I'll fix my brush. That way I can just clean that up a little bit. I could clean up all these other lines, but I don't really need to do that. I just wanted to show you guys how to do that little part right there. Okay, so there's that, and I think that looks pretty good. You could just sit there and change the size of your brush and just clean it up more if you wanted, but I already did that on this one. So we'll close out of this guy, discard the changes. I just wanted to show that to you guys. So there's him. He looks good. I don't think I missed any spots. Yeah, no, I don't care if I did anyway. We'll deal with it anyways. So just to show you guys how to do this and what we can do with it, you go over here to File, we'll create New, and so it wanted to create a canvas. I closed out of it, but it wanted to create a canvas this size. If I were to go over here and hit New, it would create a canvas the same size as this one. Okay, so we'll do that one instead because I just wanted to, we're going to put it on here anyways and show you some neat tricks with that. So I'm going to come over here with my brush still. I have black selected. Yeah, we'll do black. And then I'll make my brush a little bit bigger. And then we're painting a zebra today, apparently. We'll do a little bit of red. And you may be wondering, like, what am I doing? Well, I'm about to use a tool and make this go from just weird, basic Dr. Seussical to kind of unique looking. Alright, so that's pretty much done right there. It looks kind of basic, but we'll come over here and we'll go to this smudge tool. I'll lower the size of my brush a little bit and take the hardness off a little. I also want the spacing down. I want it to be a smooth drag. You can kind of see right there, you can see the steps in the brush. I don't want that. I want it to be smooth. So I took my spacing down to 1 and basically got rid of that. You can kind of see it up there as well. But the more you just mess with it, the better it looks, in my opinion. So I'm just going to take it and screw with it and make my brush a little bigger just to make it faster. And I do this because I know some people like the pour paints. Not the P-O-O-R pour, the P-O-U-R pour, which is where you just pour acrylic paints on a canvas and you have this unique look similar to this right here. So I think that looks good enough. I mean, it's not too much, but it's still interesting colors and vivid and all that. And now that looks pretty good. I'm happy with that. Okay, so we'll come over here back to transparent dentist just by clicking on the image. You can click on any of the ones you have open, but we'll go back to dentist here and we'll go to the images tab. Oops. Dang it. I didn't mean to do that. So we'll put that back down there. Yeah, we'll go to the images tab. You can, what I did there was I drug it, and when you drag it, you can undock them is what it's called, but what that means is you can just drag it to its own window, or you can put it in its own section on your window to make it easier for you. Sometimes they will come up as their own squares, and I don't necessarily like that as their own windows, I mean, and I don't like that at all, so I just always take mine and I put them over here. But so we'll go to that image we just did, we'll click on that, and it will bring that layer up over here. So we'll take it and we'll put it on there, and whoops, it went over top. We'll just move that down a layer, and then you can see that we have that underneath Dennis. Okay, so now I will take the fuzzy select tool, which is under the select by color tool. Remember that. So you guys do want to get familiar with your tools, especially if it's set up like this. It can be a little confusing, and I don't want that. I don't want you guys to get confused or intimidated just because you can't find a tool. Just go ahead and right click all of them until you find the one you're looking for, but mine is the fuzzy select tool. It is right there. I will go back to tool settings just to make sure I can get what I'm looking for. Whoops. So you can see my background is the highlighted layer at the moment. It's the selected layer. So when I did my fuzzy select tool, it selected stuff from that layer. So I'm going to click on that transparent dentist layer and click on his hair, because that's what I'm looking for. And then I will hit shift or hold shift, and I will click on the other spots of his hair, and I will invert that selection. I will hit oops. Alright, so I will invert that selection, and then I will go back to the background before I delete. And then you can see that it's just white now. It's just a white background. That is because it doesn't have the transparency in it. So what I need to do is I need to right click and I need to hit add alpha channel. And you can see in the description it says add transparency information to the layer. So when you do that, it will add that, and then now if I hit delete, it becomes transparent. And now I have just Dennis's hair in a weird looking color, but it's kind of interesting. Maybe it wasn't the best spot for it, we'll say. So before I hit delete, we'll go back and we'll go to add alpha channel just so I can delete it whenever. But we'll hit the move tool, and then we'll move this to wherever his hair would look the best. So about right there. And then now we'll hit delete. And that looks pretty good to me. Yeah. So there's that, you know, and you can, the one I like to do is, we'll go back to that background. We'll drag that onto the bottom again. And then with the fuzzy tool still selected, we'll go back to the dentist layer. Hold shift, select all of this little mask there, except the eyes, because you don't need it on the eyes. And then we'll come over to the background. And then we will control I, and I don't think we added the alpha channel to that yet, so we'll do that, hit delete, and then we are left with just a pretty neat looking image there. We'll go to the transparent dentist layer, and then I think we're pretty much done. And hopefully it helped you guys, and hopefully you're going to want to come back and see the rest. If you have any questions, if I didn't cover anything well, or if you think I went a little too fast, feel free to comment, feel free to ask, and please remember this is my first video, so go ahead and like and subscribe. Alright, have fun and have a good day, you guys. See you next time.